to move the motion? Peter.
Thank you, Mr Davis. I move the motion that this House considers progress towards the government's levelling up missions in the east of England. Mr Davis, it's a pleasure to serve with you in the chair, and I thank the Backbench Business Committee for granting this debate. It comes a year after a similar debate when the opportunities and challenges facing the east of England, we considered them also through the prism of levelling up. Since then, last February, the government published their white paper, Levelling Up the United Kingdom, in which they set out 12 levelling up missions with targets to be achieved by 2030. Last month, in December, the East of England All-Party Parliamentary Group, which I co-chair with the Honourable Member for Cambridge, they, in conjunction with the East of England Local Government Association and various private sector partners, published a report which analysed confidence in the region in achieving these targets. In summary, Mr Davis, the report found that there was high confidence in achieving 3 of the levelling up missions. That's employment and pay, research and development, and well-being. There was medium confidence in achieving 4 of the missions, those that seek to improve digital connectivity, deliver pride in place, reduce crime, and widen devolution. However, there is low confidence in 5 policy areas, many of which are those which are most important to the people of and the prospects for the East of England. These are improved educational attainment, more skills, better transport, longer, healthier living, and more affordable housing to buy and to rent.
On that point,
I will give way to the Honourable Member.
I'm very much like co-chair. He's doing an excellent job on making the case for the East of England. But does he agree with me that with one of the 5 areas of particular concern that he's just referenced being transport, it's absolutely essential to keep up the pressure for important rail improvements at Ely and Hawley junctions, restore 4 trains per hour to London Stansted, secure East-West Rail, and ensure that affordable, reliable bus services become the norm rather than the exception across the region?
I thank the honourable friend for that intervention, and I do greatly enjoy working with him on the APPG. He is quite correct to raise those issues. I will comment on those rail issues only in passing and a little bit further along, but they are vital to the East of England, but actually also, this is a point I'll make, to the whole of the UK. Mr Davis, as I said, I shall comment on these 5 issues in a little more detail as to what needs to be done so that we can get on course to deliver the 2030 targets, and I anticipate that colleagues will home in on areas and issues that are important to them and to their constituents. I should add that each of these issues in themselves warrants a debate of its own, and I'm conscious that I shall only scratch on the surface of each mission. Earlier this month, the government published the results of round 2 of the Levelling Up Fund. In the 2 rounds that have taken place so far, there have been 12 awards in the East of England, with a total value of £252.5 million. In both rounds, we secured the 4th lowest amount of funding in the UK, and though on an allocation per head basis, the situation has improved significantly from £14 per head in the first round to £26 per head in the second round, the East of England still remains the region with the 3rd lowest level of funding over both rounds. Mr Davis, it would be wrong to judge levelling up solely on the basis of these grants, but there is a worry that there is a lack of understanding in Whitehall of both the challenges faced by many people in the East of England and also the exciting opportunities available in the region. With the right policies and support, government can help unlock these opportunities, and this will benefit not just our region, but the whole of the United Kingdom. Down here in London, there may be a view that East Anglia is a comfortably off region where levelling up does not apply. That is wrong, as we have relatively low levels of pay, and there are deep pockets of deprivation in coastal communities, such as Lowestoft, that I represent, in rural areas, and in our larger cities and towns, such as Norwich and Ipswich. Yes, the east of England... I will give way to my honourable friend.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does he not agree that generally around the country, some coastal regions are suffering from pockets of deprivation that is unrecognised because the central hinterland looks wealthy?
Yeah.
My honourable friend raises a good point, and I'm mindful that I think that there is, in Jaywick, I think in his constituency, is statistically the most deprived area in the east of England. And he quite rightly says there are pockets of hidden deprivation, because very often, within a few miles of where those pockets are, there are actually areas of wealth. And that camouflages deprivation that is there. And he makes a very good point. The east of England, Mr. Davis, is an economic success story. And it is one of only 3 regions which are net contributors to the exchequer. But with the right policies and the necessary initiatives, we can significantly reduce poverty and can create what in effect would be a global powerhouse with specialist skills and expertise in such sectors as low-carbon energy, agri-tech, life sciences, and sustainable fishing. That said, despite these drawbacks, locally in Waveney, a good start has been made, and at present, much of Lowestoft resembles a building site. Work is well underway on the Gullwing Bridge, the long-awaited and much-needed third crossing of the port, which divides the town, as well as the construction of permanent flood defences. Mr. Davis, at this stage, it's appropriate to pause and to recall that this evening is the 70th anniversary of the 1953 storm surge, which hit our coast so cruelly, causing death, destruction, and locally in Lowestoft, ultimately the demise of the beach village. Today, the region remains extremely vulnerable to rising sea levels and the threat of climate change, but the drive towards net zero does present our economy with significant opportunities that we must grasp. In Lowestoft, work is also getting underway on the various Towns Fund projects designed to regenerate the town centre and the surrounds. In total, these, together with the flood defence scheme and the new bridge, represent a public investment in the town which currently stands in excess of £220 million. Due to inflation, the shortage of raw materials and supply chain challenges, delivering such construction projects is not easy at the present time, and I commend the project managers at Suffolk County Council, Coastal Partnership East and East Suffolk Council for their hard work. Our task locally is to ensure that these developments do act as a catalyst for private sector investment and that they fit in and complement the overall economic strategy for the region as a whole. Mr. Davis, I shall now briefly touch on the 5 missions where there is low confidence of meeting the 2030 targets. I'll give way to my honourable friend.
And the honourable member for bringing this forward. His constituency and my constituency are very alike, and from the fishing point of view, he mentioned 1953, Mr. Chairman, just very quickly. That's an anniversary for us back home. The MV Princess Victoria went down in 1953. I was at the service on Sunday, so 1953 also resonates. But does the honourable gentleman agree with me? It appears sometimes, with respect, that the regions that shout the loudest get the lion's share of the funding. And does the honourable member not agree, when he comes forward with his 5 points, that perhaps maybe government should consider a scoring matrix which ensures that each constituency sees projects delivered, meaning that, as in the case of my own Stratford constituency, that we actually are able to level up with the rest of the United Kingdom?
I thank the honourable member for that intervention. He's quite right. There are significant similarities between the east of England, between East Anglia and Northern Ireland as well. As far as a matrix is concerned, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I do think what there needs to be much better feedback from government as to why particular bids were not successful. And I just also think that probably we do need to look at the criteria against which bids have to sort of satisfy before we come on to the next round. If I comment, Mr. Davis, on the 5 missions where there is low confidence of achieving the 2030 targets, I'll start with transport. It should be highlighted at the outset that the East of England, with 17 ports and airports, including 2 free ports and Stansted, is very much a strategic gateway to the whole of the UK. If the East of England has a fit-for-purpose 21st century transport system, then the whole of the UK benefits. Unfortunately, we are some way away from achieving this, and there is a concern that the transport needs of the region are being overlooked in Whitehall, notwithstanding the good coordinating work of our 2 strategic transport bodies, Transport East and England's economic heartland. On the railways, it is vital that funding is provided for the upgrading of the Ely and Hawley junctions. This will improve connectivity from the Felixstowe-Harwich Freeport to the Midlands and to the north, thereby facilitating levelling up in those regions. It will get freight off the very busy A14, and it will help provide additional capacity for passenger services into London Liverpool Street. Reinstating the 4 trains per hour from Liverpool Street to Stansted will help attract investment from airlines to secure new routes to destinations such as San Francisco and Boston. And Mr. Davis, that's Massachusetts, not our near neighbour in Lincolnshire, although that road itself also needs improvement. It is estimated that if such routes are opened up, they will deliver £95 million in new investment to the East of England. However, to deliver such investment, there is a need for good transport links to and from the airport. Locally, the Waveney constituency is served by 2 railway lines, the East Suffolk and the Wherry. These must be upgraded to improve accessibility and connectivity. This is vital to deliver meaningful levelling up to coastal communities such as Lowestoft and Yarmouth. Turning to education, achieving good grades not only benefits the individuals themselves, improving their life chances and sense of well-being, but it also enhances the prospects of economic growth. Unfortunately, across the region, the overall level of attainment is behind the level of England as a whole. This is predominantly because the funding for East of England schools is way below the national average. The F40 is a group of the lowest funded educational authorities in England. This is a club to which you do not aspire to membership, but unfortunately, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire and Central Bedfordshire are all members. To ensure that young people in the East of England have a fair opportunity to realise their full potential, attention should be given to revising the funding formula that applies to rural schools, and a significant part of the increased funding of £4.6 billion over the next few years should be allocated to councils to support children and young people with educational needs and disabilities. With regard to skills, there are exciting opportunities emerging in the East of England, such as in the energy sector, and further education colleges such as East Coast College, with their campuses in Lowestoft and Great Yarmouth, are doing great work, but they are hamstrung by a lack of revenue funding and a shortage of teachers and trainers. The report's key recommendations to meet the future needs of the region is for there to be much greater in-work education provision and participation in further education and skills training for adults, improvements in the overall quality of training, better access to training, taking into account rurality and transport challenges, and a better alignment with employers' needs. Local skills improvement plans, which are being worked up by the Chambers of Commerce, the councils and the LEPs, are the vehicle for bringing about this sea change. But if we look at energy, with the construction of Sizewell C, with 50% of the UK's offshore wind fleet anchored off our coast, and with the potential for hydrogen production and distribution starting from the gas terminal at Bacton, there is a concern that the scale of the opportunity has not been fully recognised and acknowledged. The fact that we do not have a bespoke Institute of Technology is a disappointment. With regard to the health mission, insufficient regard is had to the facts that the population of the east of England is increasing, and we have a higher percentage of elderly people resident in the area than in other regions. These factors apply added pressure onto our health and care sector, which is currently grappling with unprecedented demand and a workforce crisis. There are also significant health inequalities, including an increasing number of children living in poverty and an alarming gap in healthy life expectancy between areas often only a few miles apart. To meet these challenges, government policies should recognise the significant population growth and pressures in the east of England so as to ensure that the region gets a fair share of funding overall for its demography and that the most deprived areas are recognised within this. Whilst home ownership in the east of England is the highest of any English region at 67.4% in 2021, these homes are less affordable than in the rest of the UK. In 42 out of 48 areas in the region, average house prices are more than 8 times the median wage. Mr Davis, the bottom rungs of the housing ladder have in effect been sawn off. I am conscious that if I look at my own constituency casework, the number one issue is the challenges faced by many people seeking a comfortable, warm and dry place to live which they can truly call home. To meet this challenge, we need to build more houses with the necessary supporting infrastructure across all tenures, including social housing, to meet the needs of all people, whether that be those setting up home for the first time, those starting families, and those looking to down or right-size as their children leave home. Moreover, the government need to follow up on its recently welcome and announced ambition to reduce energy demand by driving forward a national retrofit programme. Mr Davis, we have successful individual schemes such as the Energy Company Obligation, ECO, but we are yet to embark on the journey to upgrade the bulk of the UK's existing building stock. Policies should be set in Whitehall, and hopefully the Chancellor will have more to say on this next month, and they then need to be delivered locally, carried out by local craftsmen, trained in local colleges, and overseen by local councils. In conclusion, Mr Davis, I make 3 observations about levelling up in the east of England. Firstly, those living in the east of England will clearly benefit if we achieve the 2030 targets for the 12 missions. But so will the rest of the UK. For example, as I've mentioned, if you improve connectivity and transport links across the region, benefits will flow to all corners of Great Britain. Secondly, there is an opportunity not just to level up, but to create global exemplars in such sectors as low-carbon energy, life sciences and agri-tech. The first, low-carbon energy, is particularly important in my own constituency on the East Anglian coast, the all-energy coast. Nowhere else in the UK, quite likely nowhere else in Europe, and quite possibly nowhere else around the world do we find offshore wind, nuclear, carbon capture and hydrogen clustered so closely together. We must realise the full potential of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This, Mr Davis, is an open goal staring us in the face. It is vital that we do not kick the ball over the bar. Thirdly, in these uncertain times, we need to have in mind our national security. The East of England played a crucial role in providing this during World War II, with our network of airfields across the region from which the RAF and the USAF flew. Hopefully, security in this form will not be necessary again, but in a geopolitical context, we are in worrying uncertain times, and as the breadbasket of Britain and as the aforementioned all-energy coast, we have a vital role to play in providing food and energy security. Delivering on the levelling up missions, not just in the East of England, but across the country, requires collaboration. Firstly, there is a need for government departments to be properly coordinated. I am conscious that I have commented on many issues that do not fall within the Minister's remit, and I apologise for that. But there is a need for and there's also a need for collaboration between national government and local government and with the region's businesses. We need, Mr Davis, a delivery vehicle to achieve this, and I look forward to the Minister's summing up, and I hope that she will be able to pledge that government will commit to this very important partnership approach. Thank you.